Okay, so up to the top of Meme Amid Aleph in Vilna. Hamisha Matari Tatarit Slamikov Mishnah Brisa. The person who gives the answer, not give the answer as though of Mishnah Brisa, Omikar far for that matter from a Svara, Elamit Nei Shakach Kibel. Because there's a Masorah, that's the way to answer, which I guess is fair enough, right? In other words, yes, it's better. We presume that it's better to answer based on evidence, but evidence, a person's Masorah is sufficient evidence to make a statement. Okay, even if it's not Mishnah, Brisa, or Svara, the best ways to resolve the question are by evidence from Mishnah or Brisa or logic. Sometimes you have something which applies all three. Okay, Shemakshim made Mishnah we Brisa and Betakin also Kodem. We ask a question from a Mishnah or Brisa, and there's some inherent problem with Mishnah or Brisa as currently structured. First, they have to fix the Mishnah or Brisa. Because otherwise, it's an easy way out. You always say it's distorted. We usually don't say it by Mishnah, but by Bryce we say all the time. If the unless the Makshan sustains this question in a significant way, we always have the easy way out of saying Shabeshno. It's a distorted Bryce, so therefore you can't ask a question from it. Okay. Let's see, Olive here. Not important. Okay. Well, that we know the Gemara itself tells us that sometimes we have several answers, and the Gemara is only will tell us one of those. The Chamichel time at plus time in Nokat, and that is from I skipped, sorry. I skipped the end of the last paragraph. Actually, this seems the punchline. Punchline is that you could have asked the question before fixing the brisa, but you fixed it first, even though you could have asked the question beforehand. Okay, so that is, in other words, don't think that the fact that the Gemara fixes the brisa or the Mishnah or he mends it in any way, shape, or form is an indication that otherwise the kasha would not have been a kasha. No, the kasha could be a kasha nonetheless. Since the Gemara is to fix the brisa before it asks the question. Okay. So then this is of course a very famous principle, which is the Gemara. I think the way the Ushai puts it, that they were atire betritze. They had many different answers they could give, but sometimes they just give one of them, right? It was one of the answers. The last time we look at it's going with one of two or three possible avenues of approach. Sometimes the Mora asks his buddy from Mishnah or Brisa, if a family they cost shows a Mishnah Brisa, it's also difficult for him. And the guy could have said back to him, well, what about according to your line of reasoning, it doesn't work out much better. Below Parichle. But he doesn't do that, even though he could have. Zematzim Talmud Harbe Pa'amim. Okay, we find it many times. The Yavitz has very important clarification here. The Yavitz says down here, Echadadiv. Oh, no, it's not the Yavitz.
Which letter are you reading?
I'm trying to find actually what I'm looking for.
Which letter?
I don't know yet. Looks like it's Aleph over here from the Ibis. Over here. Hechad Adim Le Parich. It says, Hechad Adim apartment Le Parich. There was a question, even though they could have asked. I don't understand. No, let's see what I'm looking for. Who the hell is going this?
Is it going on Hagos Hagriv?
No, Hagos Hayavitz. He says, I guess he says, where does the Amora ask a question which can be asked on himself or the other Amora, where it's a better question? In other words, maybe he had other questions which would not be difficult on himself, but this is a better question to ask. Otherwise, in other words, where this is a better question, he'll ask the question, even though the question is difficult on himself as well. But to ask a question which is a lousy question on his friend, which could have asked about himself, that's not prevalent.
Okay.
Yes, he can ask a question difficult on himself, but he's only going to ask questions difficult on himself, says the Ibitz. It was something which is very, very good question. Otherwise, he's not going to ask a question which is difficult to himself. Okay, I can't. You have to be like the Ibitz and all of Shas in order to make that assertion. I can't. Back to the text. If there's a brisa which argues, apparently on an opinion, and Amora does not ask a question from it, so then we assume that he held the brisa was distorted and corrupt, so that's why he didn't ask the question. This is Erevin. Sometimes Gemara could have given a better answer. But this answer we're giving now is required for some other place. And that's why it's answered now this way. This is Shabbos. Okay. That's interesting. So in our clown in Yerushalmi, the Bavli asks a question only if it's a setup. Well, I shouldn't say only. What? It's a normal derech for it to ask something which it knows it can answer. Okay, Rosh Reish Sukkah. That's interesting. Okay, so in other words, if it can't ask a question, if it doesn't answer the question it's about to ask, but that question is not a tufta, it's not a refutation. Why bother asking the question? Isn't that interesting? Or it's not going to add on to our knowledge. We're not going to be able to answer the question, and therefore the discussion is superfluous. So therefore, we're going to avoid the superfluous discussion of this the other possible answers, which are not nowhere near as good as what we actually are about to deploy. Okay.
What about tekus?
What?
What about tekus?
Well, we didn't get there yet. He's going to speak about that. Okay. So again, he needs this answer elsewhere. That's why he's using this answer over here. Tosfos and Shabbos. Oh, no, sorry, I went back around. I'm only going to ask questions which you answer. Obviously, takes and tuftas, they are not questions, they're refutations. But if you have a question, the question is only asked, the question has normally, question only asks, the question has an answer. And that's unless if it's of such a quality that it will, in the end, remain take and tufta. Of course, we have to ask the question then. But we know we're leading into a dead end. Okay. Something to ask question. Mishnah, we only ask the Amora. But also kushios, because in the way asking what we're asking Amora, there is kushi achash lo yachol chos Mishnah. There's a series of questions. One of them we couldn't ask in the Mishnah, so we ask all of them on the Gemara, even though the ones that could have been asked in the Mishnah. And then the top of the Mishnah is much more significant. But since not all the questions could be asked in the Mishnah, so therefore we ask on the ones that are relevant to the to Amora. But Amakshe Asher Shemina Brisa, we met a kushia. Yeah, it's much more in the Bavli. We find that a person has a question from a brisa, and there's no question for that brisa. He's relying on a stam mishnah, which is seven somewhere else. So in Yerushalmi, this gives you crazy because they don't ask, they bring out a text, they don't mean to ask from the text. They're asking for what happens after this text, in the next text. But the Bavli has something similar. The Bavli is saying that so nice ask a brisa, even though it could have asked a mishnah, I guess because the brisa is more local than the mishnah, which is somewhere else. Okay. Yeah, let's go to the top of the next column. But saying Marsha Max stay kushios, but Mataritz Lokashash Mataritz Ki Im Kusha Hashnia. Sometimes one asks two questions, and Mataritz only answers the second question. I guess we felt the first question was not as strong. Amy Derech Gemara Mataritz Kushios Makshim Low. Only answers. It's like tricky of us, right? And you answer what you're asked. You don't answer what you're not asked, right? And the law, obligation, push your there's another question there. And we're not concerned. We only answer the questions that are in front of us. Thanks for getting a move. That can lead to a little bit of a distortion. Because the Tartz knew there's another kasha. And he doesn't deal with it, then that seems to be problematic. But I guess this doesn't happen. Okay. But see that the by who machlokas of Bryces, we see that they raise a query, and it's in machlokas on the Bryces. And Shlotzah das Perusha Brysa, but wants to the Brysa from which it's asking. We should the Sabelas the low plige, the Sabelas the plige, because it could be learned that it doesn't argue. We learned that it does argue. Talk by us, so I'm asking questions. Part of the concept is going to be clarified. I have spoken about this Paris. It's not a proposition. And we shouldn't keep going the who, but rather this thing which one holds to be true. Right? Sounds like a Masorah. I guess not. I guess the Gemara knows what the halacha should be, but not what the actual answer question is. Therefore, we're going to bring that answer, even though it's not directly, well, this is very similar to what we said before at the beginning. At the beginning of the Gemara, we said, first one, the low we call Mishra Bryson, we call Spara, El Mishum Shuvnei Kibel. So that's exactly what's saying here. Okay. Same principle. So I need to give an answer. The Amora, the Basrei Eno Terutz. Okay, since it won't be a good answer going forward. So we take an answer, it's going to work for both. In other words, you take one for the team. We give them an answer, we give a lesser answer, because it works for the other person afterwards. What's the note here? Gimel? I don't see that here. Close to me. Nothing. Okay. Sometimes Max is going to ask Tamazoy, even though the question is the answer is question. We should to look far from something they already answered. And he asked again. It's a nutnik question, but he wants to know. Well, that's you tied to the boat. They were talking as a mover. Maybe they'll give a better answer. Okay. Gemara may be Toshma, Zechar Zeh. Nagu Rabbi saying tied Ganki, but they often. So the question is, we're answering next each Toshma in succession the same way. Why bother bringing another Toshma, which can obviously be answered the same way? So the Maksha was trying to extract information from the Tartzu, right? Maybe they're going to give a better answer, which he likes better. So the first reason is not a great reason. I'm told, but the first reason is a good reason, a significant reason. The lake of the anyway, can't ask anything on it. Low shaykh it's not relevant to say that there's another reason. I does call target. Okay, so therefore, um, mm, okay. So in other words, sometimes we're looking for a different answer, but the place says only what's a better answer. I'm not sure we know that ahead of time, right? I guess the editor set it up. There's only ask the question if we're actually going to come up with a better answer.
Okay.
Okay. We can start the next part. We can leave it for Sunday.
Yeah, we'll leave it for Sunday.
Okay.
And,
Actually, now I'm thinking Sunday I might be on the road, so we'll play it by ear. Okay.
all right.
Might be
I
driving
mean,
back to York on Sunday.
okay.
Okay. Eventually, after you have everything, we'll get back to normal. Okay, so we're up to Akushia, new section.
Okay.
Akushia.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, Gemara Chasima Toiva.
Y'all take care.